Hello Internet, and welcome to another Robbie's Movie Reviews as we get ready for yet another fantastic night of Thanksgiving thrillers. Now, tonight's one is of course in the heart of Disney, and a sequel that maybe many weren't expecting, maybe many weren't wanting, but a bunch of others were really wanting because obviously it was made. Hi, welcome to Robbie's Movie Reviews, and tonight we're going to be talking about Wreck-It Ralph 2 or Ralph Breaks the Internet. But before we kind of get into it, let's kind of go for anybody who's new down the line of what's in store. Step one is doing a quick and dirty review of the trailer. Then we do a quicker review of the actual movie. And finally do the likes and dislikes for any who are interested in talking about it. Thank you as always for kind of joining me on this trip of going to the movies. And let's go ahead and get started because it's a little cold out here. But I figured a change of scenery might be a little better. Alright. So where do we go from this? First of all, Ralph Breaks the Internet or Wreck-It Ralph. 6 years ago, roughly, when we had Wreck-It Ralph come out, a big behemoth with giant hands that was known for only wrecking things sought out an identity crisis and met a little girl who changed his world. 6 years later now, we have kind of another identity issue coming in, but this time Ralph and Vanellope, in a quest to fix a game, decided to travel outside their little bubble of the arcade and go into the vast sea that is the cyber world of the internet. And with it, when you have a clumsy oaf like him with a very spunky and adventurous youth, you end up getting a wild catastrophe adventure that could be very entertaining to watch. What's in store though? Because Disney is master of trailers and potentially not delivering on what you expect. Sometimes more, sometimes less. As always, yours truly is here to happily help you with your movie reviewing pleasure. So let's get started and hopefully we can find something really good about it. For the quick and dirty, surprisingly Wreck-It Ralph 2 really did much better than I was anticipating from the trailers. A fantastic dive into a new type of world, Wreck-It Ralph's journey into the cyber world, brings with it a lot of fun jabs at various popular cultures. While maybe not as witty and clever in terms of the video game lineage like we saw back in the first one, this one definitely loves to point fingers at popular culture trends and find a means of maybe making us realize that we have a few faults. Find a fun adventure of that's a journey that again has some cleverness to it and an engaging plot, and somehow teaches a message with it as well. Nevertheless, there's plenty of comedy, plenty of references that you may or may not get just depending on how much you are online, and more importantly, just loving the creative world that Disney is so very good at bringing to life. Now, essentially, does this mean that the movie's perfect? No. I would say that there are a couple of other things that I missed from the first one in terms of it, but that's going to be more in the likes and dislikes. A little cliche and predictable at times, some recycled plot lines and catastrophes that came with it, and a little more of an underwhelming thriller suspense compared to what we had in the first one. Now, for more in tunes of that, please check out the likes and dislikes component of it. But otherwise, a solid sequel that is definitely good for the holiday, though compared to what my friends at the movie theater have taught me, thanks for the tidbit, Austin, I still think The Grinch is taking the premise of it. Anyway, guys, we are about out of time in terms of the quick and dirty. Sorry it took a little longer. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and kind of give our score. In terms of family, animated, comedy, and of course Disney, Wreck-It Ralph is probably around an 8.5. Movie overall, probably a 7.5 at the lowest. 8 is where I'd probably peg it. A lot of fun. Another great addition to the Walt Disney Library. So, yeah, had a hoot with it. Thank you very much for kind of joining me tonight. If you're done with after this quick and dirty review, please like, share, subscribe. Help me make this and expand it because I'd like to go past 8 views and really get into probably at least 100 on an average because it will kind of prove that I'm doing something right. But as always, constructive criticism is very well received as long as it's presented in a manner I can work with. Anyways, guys, for those who are sticking around, as always, let's get into the likes first. Now, when it comes to Wreck-It Ralph, voice acting is great, but the animation is solid, and probably one of the features that I like to start off with in this part of the review. When it comes to the internet, there's lots of visualizations as to how cyberspace and a virtual reality world can come together. And in this case, Disney's ability to blend child with adult themes and even, I guess, every age in between really is amazing as they create this very colorful, visually splendid world. Their representations, I think, cover the themes of the nature of the various parts of the web, all while making sure to keep it kid-friendly. So that's a definite positive for yours truly. In addition, casting groups that really capture the persona of the voice actors, aka Shank as Gal Gadot, was a match made in heaven. And another representation of how, with the resources and the right seeking out, you can really get a heck of a character to come with it. I absolutely love just the fun nature and animation of the world, appreciating the fluid movements that Disney Studios and the hundreds of workers that they employ for their projects take point in. In regards to it, what else do I enjoy with it? Well, there comes the wit and the comedy behind it. You see, while the dialogue has plenty of quotable liners and meme-worthy faces and all sorts of references, it's really about the wit and clever, and not only the dialogue itself, but more the world. Seeing Twitter the way that it was portrayed, finding Pinterest, Instagram, I mean, such great visualization to really integrate our characters into. And even when you get into the death race, which is mocking a bunch of stuff, again, you get a victory in my book. Now, of course, we've got plenty that we could talk about in this film, but just that clever wit component is what I really enjoyed. And in terms of comedy, it's kind of the same Ralph antics, but not as localized in terms of the humor. If you remember kind of back in the first one, you had some slapstick for the kids, plenty of insulting humor to just kind of go on the simplistic level comedy. And then for, you know, super geeks like me, seeing the video game references and the dad jokes mixed together was a hoot to watch. And in this one, it's not quite as localized. With internet sensations and the fact that we are essentially all centered around the internet, this one's definitely for a broader audience, which gets, you know, kudos points. And making sure to go with a group who may be able to explain a reference is fantastic. So I most certainly enjoyed kind of the broader comedy here, at least in terms of the variety that it brings. But, of course, we see that Disney is really about sometimes overdoing it, the comedy. And I don't think that was quite the case for most of the film. Now, yours truly kind of had an extra laugh because Wreck-It Ralph is very much similar to a couple of my friends, one in particular, hi Mary, because of many of the mannerisms, which helped an extra boost. So hopefully you have a friend that's a lot like Ralph, because it just really helps with amplifying it as you superimpose it. In addition to not only being witty, there is also a couple of other shout-outs that I don't want to reveal, but keep your eyes open. Plenty of Easter eggs that come through, and plenty of just some great, ironically, psych evaluations and jabs when it comes to this movie. Now, of course, one other thing I want to point out is, even though there is a lot of overstuffing comedy, you sometimes wonder, can Disney still get the moral across in the story element? And in both cases, Ralph Breaks the Internet still works. Despite all the fun that I had in this movie, there is still a ooey gooey emotional side to it that, well, it depends on the kind of person you are. For me, very personable, given some of my history. So definitely relevant and kind of struck a chord that really evokes stuff. However, in regards to others, maybe this one won't quite have the same hit that the previous installment did. But, you know, it works. And again, I got to give a shout out that the merchandising for Disney is on point. Be definitely ready to see a lot of these costumes and outfits that we're seeing, whether you've seen it in the trailer or you see it in the film. I have a feeling your little ones and you and a lot of friends my age are going to be definitely poking around for their next Disney sleep night sweatshirt bunch. So, you know, kudos to them. Now, in regards to everything else, again, it's a fast-paced adventure, good timing, definite good special effects and attention to detail, lots of good stuff with it. And I'm just rambling on, but I wanted to just make sure to nod at everything I could. Let's get to the dislikes, though, so that I don't make this too long. The truth is that much of Wreck-It Ralph's dislikes are very small and minor. They're just stuff that I picked up on with maybe one major. But overall, I don't think this is going to affect a lot of the same audience as me. But I'm still going to kind of throw it out there and try to be complete. First of all, even though it's clever and as it got wit, because they brought in the humor, I did miss a lot of the like super cultural references that make super nerds like me get really excited. Yes, plenty of internet stars and internet problems. I mean, it works. But not having kind of that insider's knowledge and reference looking was a little meh to me. The second thing is that I would say, in terms of kind of some of the comedy, it's a little in your face. I can definitely say that one of these big issues is the princess component. It's a very in your face kind of jab at it, even though Matt Pat on Film Theory and Game Theory brings out a fantastic point. So go check out his video on kind of the Wreck-It Ralph trailer. I can definitely say, though, that that kind of in-your-face stuff, it doesn't quite faze me and affect me like maybe a lot of other audience members will enjoy with. But that the main reason is kind of where my biggest dislike is, but we'll hold out onto that one. Nevertheless, some of the in-your-face moments are not quite my cup of tea, but that's just me. I guess in regards to it, as you heard in the Quick and Dirty, the truth is that Wreck-It Ralph has a couple of recycled plot gimmicks. Sometimes it's a running gag, which is very well received. Other times it's kind of a plot line that was, I get it was used as a bridge, but maybe a little too similar in regards to trying to find it. And in regards to some of the other characters, you didn't have so much of Fix-It Felix or the Commander this time, which I get it. They weren't really a part of the story, and kudos to them for bridging the past with the present and making sure to still focus on the newness of the material. After all, you don't want it just a rehash of the movie. But still, even though their parts solidified it, it might have been nice to have them back on the adventure as well. But hey, there were plenty of other characters. I can say that even though Shank had her definite justice in that and did some fantastic scenes, surprised that she was not a little more integrated into it compared to a couple of the other ones. Again, there's a nice balance in characters, but still not maybe the full complete movie in regards to that. I guess when we get to the final two ones, because again, I'm making this long, if you remember from the first one, you had a villain that was on point, that was sinister, and definitely enough insights into it to keep you invested in him, with a very kind of suspenseful ending to the Wreck-It Ralph movie. In this one, the enemy was not only not as present, but then not as big of a threat as I thought it was going to be. And so, while definitely in time and theme with the movie and the moral compass of it, it didn't quite have the same zhuzh that Turbo did back in the first film. So, you know, kind of a limitation there, but we rode with it. I guess my biggest dislike is, if you've seen the trailers enough times with little kids throwing it in your face, or you're a trailer-holic loving to go through it, depending on how many of the trailers you've seen, this is where my biggest issue is that much of the gallery in this one has already been debuted very well. So maybe the laughs may not be as fresh, maybe the laughs might not be as relevant, because if you've, again, hopped up on this, there's a lot of it already revealed in the movie. That doesn't mean there isn't plenty of other new stuff, but a lot of the heavy-handed comedy has already been dealt. Regardless, the final thing is, of course, make sure to stick around for the, if I can come up with it, the end credits and mid-credits scene. There are two, and both are definitely worth it. So this is definitely a like that I forgot to mention, so stick around with it. Let's wrap this up by saying Ralph Breaks the Internet was fun. It is always exciting and anticipating to just enjoy the theme of it and really have a blast with going back to this beloved Disney thing. A blend of so many different cultures, it will be very hard not to find some point of entertainment in the majority of the people. There are some gimmicks that maybe you're hoping for a little more info into it. And, you know, they did as best as they could, and I love that the directors and producers came out and said, we did our best, but we couldn't jam everything into a respectable time limit. So kudos to them for being able to do that. But overall, solid addition and a definite good sequel. The scores, again, are 8, 8.5 in its category, and probably a 7.5 and 8 when it comes to movie overall. Nevertheless, this is Robbie K signing off with another video review. Please like, share, comment. Please help me expand this. I would love to turn this into something that is very fun and help reach other audiences. But if I'm not doing a good job, or if there's something that I can do, please let me know, and I'll be happy to try it to get it going. Regardless, we will have hopefully 2 movie reviews tomorrow to kind of finish out 4 out of my 5 films this week. And then, as always, there will be a written review for those that enjoy the written print and hate the sound of my voice. Thanks, guys, and have a wonderful night. Bye.